So, yeah, it's clear based on that statement that Steve Pagliuca put out yesterday, almost immediately when that news came out of the sale of the team, he's pissed, and he feels like he got iced out.
Yeah, he pissed is the right word. In fact, Chris Mannix was on with Bill Simmons on that podcast, and again, I would just tell people the final half hour of it or so is on the Celtics, the large majority of which is on the sale. If you haven't listened to it, I would strongly urge you to listen to it. It's pretty good. It's really good. And if you don't want to listen to it, I haven't had the time to. I'm going to try to summarize it for you here. Because one of the things, Murray, yesterday is trying to put this thing into context. Because I said to you, Steve Pagliuca doesn't have a leg to stand on if he didn't have the highest bid. And at the same time, a lot of people think maybe Wyc stuck it to him and kept the team away from him. I am now coming to the conclusion that it is both. And I think that, to me, how this thing probably went down, and I'm being, I'm trying to put pieces together like everybody else. But if you ask me what happened, I think the bids probably came in. First of all, let me back up for a second. The part that Simmons is talking about there, Steve Pagliuca bid on the Nets about 8 years ago. The team sold in 2017. He didn't get it. But apparently Wyc Grousbeck knew nothing about it. So now, when the Celtics put the team up for sale, and no one knew that the team was going up for sale, including Pagliuca, doesn't that feel more like you're going to go behind our backs and try to buy the Nets?
Yeah.
So you know what? F you. We're selling the team now, and we're going to tell you just like we tell everybody else. So now my whole perspective on that whole thing is totally different. And I think you're starting to get a pattern of the kind of relationship that was ongoing and the behavior that it was existing, or the friction and the rivalry that was existing between the two.
It's been tit for tat almost for 10 years
right,
now.
Not just taking away the trophy or not shushing them in our studio, but you're going to go behind our back and try to buy the Nets without us knowing and getting out of this group? Fine, we're going to sell the team. We're putting it up to the highest bidder, and so be it. So now in this particular case, Shaughnessy reported in today's Globe that the offer made by Pagliuca was not the highest.
Right. He writes, the Globe has learned that the Chism bid was higher than Pagliuca's.
Okay, so that ends it right then and there.
Right.
But let's just say they were in the same area at one point. What's to stop the Grousbecks from reaching out to Bill Chism and saying, look, all of these numbers are in the same ballpark, but we want to sell it to you?
Nothing.
And in order to do that, we need to come up with a way that makes your offer more attractive. So is this what the double closing is for? That the value of the sale is 6.1 now, but in 3 years it'll be 7.3. We had a caller yesterday say us that as a result, the real number is closer to 6.6. No one was willing to, and I don't know, I can't give you the financials of it and whether a caller was talking out his ass yesterday or not. But the two numbers have been reported. So I wonder if the Grousbecks went back to Chism, said, make us something that's a little more appealing so we can, in good faith, say that we took the best offer. We don't even go back to Pagliuca's group, so they get to stiff Pagliuca at the same time because of this little spitting match that's been going on between Wyc and Pags. And so Grousbeck and his partners get to give the team to who they wanted to give it to. They get to stiff Pagliuca at the same time, and the spitting match that is ongoing continues to go on.
Yeah, I mean, you can be the highest bidder. So, like you said, you have no leg to stand on if you're not the highest bidder. But, okay, so you lose that on that end. But if you're Steve and his group, you can still say, all right, fine, we won't have the highest bid, but we would still like to be investors with who the ultimate owner is going to be. And it feels like on that end, the Grousbecks were like, no, we're good. We're moving on from that.
Exactly.
This new guy, Bill Chism, will be able to find new investors. You can't be part of it. This is to me, the way reading about it over the last 24 hours or so, that's what happened.
It's noteworthy, too, that Robert Hale, who is a current part of this ownership group, is going to be a part of the new ownership group, but you're not hearing about many of the other minority owners who are going to be a part of this group.
Yeah, and as for Wyc, and this is when Bill Simmons makes the line, or makes the comment, rather, that this thing's going to get ugly. I think what he's referring to, and this is a good point, that right now Grousbeck is still part of the picture. He is going to be the face of it one way or the other. whether he has power or not, and none of it. I know I think he won't, and you think that.
It just doesn't make sense.
Of course it doesn't.
To use the line that Sean DeCeo, great, in his column today, it seems odd. Why would you pay $6.1 billion for the Celtics, then let the former owner run the team for 3 seasons? If you buy my Rolls Royce, are you going to let me drive it for the next 3 years? No.
No
That's
shot.
stupid.
No shot. But in that window, Grousbeck gets to give appearances. He still gets the spotlight, which he's been getting anyway, unbeknownst to us, without having any real money in the team. And that's not fair either, but certainly not what his father has in the team. So it's just a continuation of the charade that's been going on, really, for the last 20-some-odd years. But when that ends, and it will, whether it's in 3 years or a year and a half, when the team does something that he doesn't agree with because he doesn't have any power anymore because he's not the owner of the team or his father's not. At that point, some stories will come out. And there's also, I want to play this for you in some of the audio here as we go through the first hour of the show. There are also other reasons why they might be lashing out at Grousbeck. Bill Simmons went over a number of them, and Bill's obviously been tapped with the Celtics for a long time and for good reason. But when you start to put some of it together, you come to the realization there was no way that the Grousbecks were going to give the team to Steve Pagliuca.
Well, I'm here for the mud fight. Do you have some thoughts on this, McCarthy? I know you feel like this new guy could be a Gordon Gekko-esque type raider that might strip this thing down.
Yeah, if you do some research on Bill Chism's business background, right, you understand why they're trying to sell you on the fact that he's a fan, he's from here, he has an encyclopedic knowledge of the Celtics, and all of which I don't deny and is probably true, and he's probably buying the team for a somewhat emotional reason. But if you look at his history and what the Symphony Technology Group does, their MO, the way they've made their money, the way that Bill Chism has made his money, is he invests in companies and then goes in and does something called carve-outs, which essentially is you take a part of the company that you feel is making you money, you keep that as part of your company, and then you sell, spin off, divest, get rid of, however you want to describe it, other parts of the company. He has gotten absurdly wealthy enough to buy the Boston Celtics by going into companies and cutting out the fat, for lack of a better term. So his specialty is buying, you would maybe argue, overvalued businesses where you can cut payroll, cut this, cut that, get rid of this, to make this operation run a little bit better. That is his specialty. Does that sound like the Boston Celtics to you?
No.
Fat, over-bloated, too much money, luxury tax bills out the ass. Doesn't that sound like the Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, look, billionaires spend money on crazy stuff all the time. You want to buy a bunch of Bugattis, whatever it happens to be, whatever your hobby is. Like, you're not looking for a return on investment on that. When you buy a business or you buy a professional sports team, you are eventually looking to have that thing turn a profit. You're not buying it just as like a vanity thing for $6.1 billion or maybe even more. So, yeah, like it just for this year, like I said yesterday, enjoy it this year because changes are coming to this roster next year. You don't spend $6.1 billion and then look at a roster and tax penalties that the league are putting on you next year that are also close to or a little over another $500 million and just say, okay, I'm just happy to own the team. No, changes are going to end up having to come to this roster. I think you're sticking your head in the sand if you think otherwise.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Celtics analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.